If you're over 70 and planning a trip this year, I need you to lean in for a second, because the rules of the game just changed. We are officially in January 2026, and if you haven't stepped foot in an airport in the last few months, you are going to walk into a completely different world. I'm talking about new fees, high-tech scanners that are pickier than ever, and a digital wall that is catching thousands of seniors off guard. The last thing any of us want is to be standing at the security checkpoint with a line of 200 people behind us, only to be told our ID isn't good enough or our shoes are a security risk. It's frustrating, it's embarrassing, and quite frankly, it's expensive if you miss that flight. Today, I'm breaking down exactly what has changed this month so you can glide through the terminal like a pro and, most importantly, not get denied at the gate. Before we dive into the nitty-gritty of these new 2026 regulations, do me a quick favor: hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'm constantly tracking these travel updates specifically for our community to make sure we're all staying mobile and independent. It really helps the video reach more people who might be worried about these changes. Now, let us get into the big one that everyone is talking about, the identity crackdown. First, we have to talk about the real ID situation because it has finally hit the point of no return. For years, we heard the government crying wolf about needing a star on our driver's license, and for years, they kept pushing the deadline back. Well, that grace period is long gone. But here is the new twist for January 2026. The TSA has introduced something called Confirm ID. If you show up at the airport today with a standard, old-school driver's license that isn't Real ID compliant, they aren't just going to give you a stern lecture anymore. Starting next month, they are rolling out a mandatory $45 fee just to verify who you are using an alternative system. If you don't have that star on your license or a valid passport in your pocket, you're looking at a major delay and a hit to your wallet before you even get to the gate. They're using facial recognition and deep database checks that can take 30 minutes or more. I've already heard stories of people in their 70s missing their boarding window because they were stuck in the verification penalty box. If your license says federal limits apply in the corner, you need to pull out that passport or get to the DMV immediately. Second, let us talk about the shoes. For a long time, one of the best perks of turning 75 was the shoe sun rule. TSA generally lets seniors over 75 keep their shoes and light jackets on, which is a huge relief for anyone with limited mobility or those of us who just don't want to stand on a cold airport floor in our socks. However, in 2026, the new scanners, those big, high-definition CT machines, are much more sensitive. We're seeing a massive increase in false positives for seniors wearing orthopedic shoes or sneakers with heavy gel inserts and metal arch supports. Even if you're technically allowed to keep your shoes on, these new machines are flagging the density of those specialized soles. If the machine beeps, the shoe sun privilege is revoked on the spot, and you're headed for a full pat down. My advice for this year? If you have heavy-duty walking shoes or custom orthotics, don't risk it. Wear a simple pair of slip-ons through the checkpoint and pack your supportive shoes in your carry-on. It's an extra step, but it beats a 15-minute delay and a Hansen search from a TSA agent. Third, we're seeing a massive shift toward touchless ID. If you use TSA PreCheck, you've probably noticed those new pedestals where you just look into a camera and walk through without even showing a boarding pass. By the end of this spring, this technology is expanding to over 60 major airports across the U.S., including big hubs like Houston, Dallas, and Miami. For many of us, this feels a bit like science fiction, and it can be a little intimidating if you're used to the security of holding a paper ticket. The digital wall is real. Airlines like Delta and United are now pushing everyone to opt in to biometric boarding through their apps. If you aren't tech-savvy, you might find yourself redirected to longer, manual lines while the digital-ready travelers breeze past. It isn't just about being fast, it's about the fact that many airports are actually removing the manual kiosks. You've got to be prepared to use your face as your ticket, or at the very least, have your airline's app updated and ready to go before you leave the house. It's a lot to take in, and we're just getting started. If you've experienced any of these new scanners or had a run-in with the new ID rules lately, drop a comment below. Your stories help everyone else in this community know what to expect. Stay tuned, because I'm also going to reveal the 45-minute hardlock rule that is causing seniors to lose their tickets entirely, and why your carry-on medications might be at risk under the new 2026 baggage enforcement. Now, that ID situation is stressful enough, but there is another hidden timer that is catching people off guard, and it's what frequent flyers are calling the 45-minute hard lock. In years past, if you were running a little late, you could usually plead your case at the check-in counter or the gate, and a kind agent might pull a few strings to get you on the plane. But as of January 2026, most major U.S. carriers have fully automated their boarding software. If you haven't scanned your boarding pass at the gate at least 20 minutes before departure or checked your bags 45 to 60 minutes before takeoff, the computer system literally locks your seat. The agents behind the desk actually have less power than they used to. The system automatically offers your seat to a standby passenger the second that clock hits zero. For those of us who prefer to take our time and avoid the frantic airport sprint, this means we have to pad our schedules more than ever. If you used to arrive 2 hours early, make it 3. It's better to spend an extra hour reading a book by the gate than to be told the computer has already given away your trip. Speaking of things that can ruin a trip, we have to talk about the medication trap. This is something that breaks my heart because it's so easily avoidable, yet it's happening more often this month due to new baggage enforcement. Airlines are being much more aggressive about gate-checking carry-on bags because the overhead bins are constantly full. If you're in one of the later boarding groups, there's a high chance a flight attendant will tell you there's no room and they need to take your roller bag down to the cargo hold. Here's the danger: if your life-essential medications are in that bag, you are one lost suitcase away from a medical emergency. Always, and I mean always, keep your meds in a small, personal item like a purse or a small backpack that stays under the seat in front of you. Even if they force you to check your larger carry-on, you'll have your prescriptions right where you can reach them. And keep in mind, while the TSA doesn't technically require pills to be in their original prescription bottles, some states and international destinations have tightened their local laws this year. To be safe, keep a photo of your prescriptions on your phone or bring the paper pharmacy inserts just in case a skeptical agent decides to take a closer look at those unmarked pills in your daily organizer. Before I move on to the new rules about carry-on sizes and those sneaky hidden fees for 2026, I want to invite you to join our community. If you're finding this helpful, please consider sharing this video with a friend or family member who has a trip coming up. We're all in this together, and a little shared knowledge goes a long way in making travel accessible for everyone. Now, let's talk about the physical bags themselves. Starting this month, several airlines have installed new automated sizers right at the boarding gate. You might remember the old metal boxes where you could try to squeeze your bag in. Well, the 2026 version uses lasers to measure your bag as you walk past. If your bag is even half an inch too wide because of the wheels or a bulging side pocket, the system flags you. And here's the kicker: the at-the-gate checked bag fee has skyrocketed. While it might cost $35 to check a bag at the front counter, some airlines are now charging $65 or more if they catch an oversized bag at the gate. They're calling it a handling premium, but let's be real, it's a penalty. If you're using a suitcase you've had for 10 years, it might be time to take a tape measure to it. Modern international-sized carry-ons are slightly smaller than the old domestic ones, and those are the only ones guaranteed to pass the laser test without an extra charge. Third, we have to address the silent airport movement that is spreading to more terminals this year. You might have noticed it's getting quieter in places like San Francisco or Minneapolis. That's because airports are cutting back on overhead announcements to reduce noise pollution. While it sounds nice, it's a nightmare if you aren't glued to your phone. They aren't going to announce "last call for boarding" over the speakers anymore. If you're sitting at a coffee shop or in a different lounge area, you could miss your flight simply because you didn't see the silent update on the digital screens. This is why having your airline's app with push notifications turned on is no longer optional, it's a survival tool. If you aren't comfortable with the app, make sure you're sitting where you have a direct line of sight to the departure board at your gate. Don't rely on the voice from above to tell you when it's time to move. It's definitely a more automated world out there, but don't let it discourage you from traveling. It just means we have to be a little more strategic. We still need to go over the new health and mobility assistance rules, specifically how to get a wheelchair or extra help without being hidden in the back of the line, and the one specific phrase you need to use if the new scanners flag your medical implants. Stick around, because this last part is what really ensures you get treated with the respect you deserve. Finally, we need to talk about the physical reality of navigating these massive 2026 terminals. As airports get larger and the walks from the security desk to the Z gates get longer, more of us are relying on wheelchair assistance. But here is the major change for this year: a shift in how you request that help. In the past, you could just show up and hope for the best, but with the current staffing shortages and new automated dispatch systems many airlines have adopted this January, you are almost guaranteed a long wait if you didn't flag your need in advance. The gold standard now is the 48-hour rule. When you book your ticket online, look for the Special Assistance or Accessibility tab. If you don't check that box at least 2 days before you fly, the airline's system won't automatically assign an attendant to your flight's arrival or departure window. If you're already booked and didn't do this, go into the app or call them today. It's the difference between being first off the plane and sitting at the gate for 45 minutes waiting for a chair that never comes. When it comes to the screening process itself, there is one specific tool that is a total game changer for anyone over 70, and hardly anyone uses it. It's called the TSA notification card. You can download it directly from the TSA website, and it's a simple, discreet way to communicate medical conditions without having to shout your personal health history across a crowded security line. If you have a pacemaker, a defibrillator, or a joint replacement, this card is your best friend. Why? Because, as I mentioned earlier, the 2026 scanners are incredibly sensitive. If you have a metal hip or knee, do not wait for the machine to beep. Walk up to the officer and present that card, or say the phrase, "I have a medical implant and I'm requesting an alternative screening." By using that specific language, you're triggering a protocol where they can direct you to a scanner that won't interfere with your device, or they'll move you straight to a pat-down. Remember, you have the right to request a private screening and you are never required to show a surgical scar. There is also a new dignity regulation that went into full effect this month regarding how airline staff must handle mobility devices. If you travel with your own motorized scooter or wheelchair, 2026 brings much stricter rules for the airlines regarding battery safety and non-separable parts. If your chair uses lithium-ion batteries, you are now required to provide the watt-hour WH rating to the gate agent. If the sticker on your battery is worn off, they can actually deny the chair from the flight. My tip? Take a clear photo of the battery specs and the make model of your chair right now and keep it in your phone. If there's any pushback at the gate, you have the proof right there. Also, under the new rules, if they do have to take your chair down to the cargo hold, they are legally required to return it to you at the gate in the same condition it was received. If they try to tell you to pick it up at baggage claim, don't budge. You have the right to your mobility device the moment you step off that jet bridge. I know all of these updates can feel like a lot to juggle, but the goal here isn't to make you stay home, it's to make sure you're the most prepared person in the terminal. The world is still yours to explore, whether you're visiting grandkids or finally taking that bucket list trip to Hawaii. By mastering these January 2026 rules, you're taking the stress out of the equation so you can focus on the destination, not the checkpoint. If this video helped clear up some of the confusion for you, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your travel group or your family. We want to make sure no one gets denied at the gate this year just because they didn't know about a new fee or a scanner update. If you have a trip coming up soon, comment ready below. I'd love to see where everyone is heading. And if you want a printable checklist of everything we talked about today, from the ID requirements to the medication tips, check the link in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.